بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون صدق الله العظيم. Respected brothers, last week we started the story in regards to the town where two messengers were sent to propagate the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to call the people of the town towards the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, towards the tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the people of the town, the nation, they rejected and they disregarded the call of the messengers. They paid no heed. In fact, they shunned and ignored the call. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then, rather than sending any punishment or rather than inflicting them with anything, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through His infinite mercy, He sent a third messenger. That this third messenger will go and help spread the message and strengthen the two messengers that had already settled and had already went there. However, the people of the town, their reaction was somewhat abrupt and they came out with very harsh, disrespectful language towards the three messengers altogether, calling them liars, that in antum illa takdhibun, that you are nothing but you are lying. But when you read the Quran and you see the response that the messengers gave, at no point did they retaliate or answer back in a harsh tone. Rather, they explained their objective and their motive of coming in a very polite and a humble way. And they tried to get rid of the misconceptions and the misunderstandings that these people had formed in their minds. And from this we can understand that the Anbiya ﷺ, their way of tabligh was always the polite way, a way of filled with wisdom. Just like when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Musa ﷺ to Fir'aun, He said to them, He said to Hazrat Musa and Hazrat Harun ﷺ, that when you go to Fir'aun, then speak to him in a polite manner, in a soft manner, and not in a harsh manner. And from there we can understand that when tabligh is done, if it is done in the correct manner, then it is more effective than screaming, being aggressive, taunting, or damaging comments. Because these things, when they are directed towards the listener, then rather than making them understand, it causes more hostility, causes a more hardened stance, and they end up rejecting the call altogether. So anyway, when the three messengers, they tried to propagate to these people of the town, and they put all the efforts, they exhausted all their efforts and whatever they had, and the people kept rejecting. Then in the end, because their sole purpose, the sole statement was that you have not been sent by Allah. So the messengers then took an oath and they said that قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون. They, the messengers, said ربنا يعلم, our Lord knows, إنا إليكم لمرسلون, that definitely, undoubtedly, we have been sent to you. In Ahnaf, in the fiqh of Hanafiya, this statement that Allah knows is counted as a qasam. One is that a person says qasam, Wallahi, I didn't do this. Wallahi, I did this. And one is sometimes people don't want to say a qasam. They're scared of taking a qasam. So rather than saying Wallahi, they say, Allah knows what's in my heart. But Allah knows I didn't do this. Ulama say this is also counted as a qasam. And if this statement is used for a past incident, somebody went to London and he says, Allah knows I went to London. Because he's saying the truth, this is a true statement and there's nothing to it. But if a person didn't go to London and he spent one day here and there, and when he comes back, his parents ask him, Jobio, and he says, by Allah, Allah knows I went to London, and he is lying, then this is called Yaminul Ghamus. And a person will have to give a kafara for this. لا يؤاخذكم الله باللغو فيما ولكن يؤاخذكم بما عقدتم الأيمان فكفارة إطعام 10 مساكين. So this person, if he lies, And this is called Yaminul Ghamus. Yaminul Ghamus means that he's done a very sinful act. Because the word Ghamasa means to drown. Now ulama say when a person does a false, it is a qasam, and he's lying, then this he is drowned in sin. So these messengers, in the end, to persuade the people and to let them know that we are messengers, in the end they had to say that قَالُوا رَبُّنَا يَعْلَمُ, our Allah knows we are messengers. Whether you reject us or whether you say we are liars, we are not lying. Allah knows. So they went to an extent of saying this. And then they said, وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ الْمُبِينَ, that our obligation is no more but to convey the message clearly. Our obligation is no more than to convey the message clearly. That the messengers themselves were giving themselves comfort. That we have tried so much, we have exhausted all our means and whatever we had at our disposal. But these people are not listening. So they said to themselves that our job, our duty was إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ الْمُبِينَ, just to pass the message. We've done it. Now it's up to them whether they accept, submit, believe, or whether they don't believe. That's nothing to do with this. Our responsibility was to fulfill, and as muballighin, as those people who propagate deen, go in tabligh, teach, job, whichever field you are in tabligh. Tabligh is not just fixed to one specific field. In fact, tabligh, when you do a bayan on the mimbar, there is also tabligh. When you teaching, there is also tabligh. Because what do you do tabligh of? You do tabligh of masail, you do tabligh of ilm. If there is no ilm, what are you going to do tabligh of? So whether you're teaching, whether you actively go out on the streets, whether you are doing a bayan from the mimbar, whether you are in firadan, individually telling somebody, these are all different forms of tabligh. And when a person goes out to tabligh, then his job is to propagate and pass the message. Whether the person acts upon it, he brings it to his life. If he does, very good. If he doesn't, then that is not your duty to force it onto him. Your duty is to pass the message. So the messenger said, وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغِ, that our duty is just to pass on the message. Allama Fakhruddin Razi rahmatullahi mentions in his tafsir that Balaghul Mubin. What does Balaghul Mubin mean? He says Balaghul Mubin means to clearly show distinction between truth and falsehood by way of proofs and miracles. So the messengers, by way of proofs, and some say by way of miracles as well, they showed the nation and the Qawm that look, this is the true path, and we are substantiating and we are strengthening our claim by these proofs that what we are saying is 100% true, what you believe in the idols is falsehood. And if they kept being adamant, then they even showed them miracles that look, if we are truly sent by messengers, and messengers when they are sent, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends them with miracles so that the people can, that's how you realize whether a person is a messenger. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sometimes grants them miracles. So by way of miracle, they show that look, we are seeing the truth. If we weren't saying the truth, how can this happen? So Allama Fakhruddin Razi mentions that these messengers that went to this area, these three messengers, by way of proof and by miracles, they clearly told the people that this is true and this is false. And then it was, when the truth was clear and apparent from falsehood, now it is up to you to accept and believe. Or the other meaning of Balaghul Mubin. So one meaning is to show distinction between Haqq and Batil. And the other meaning of Balaghul Mubin is to do such dawah, such propagation, that every person in the area, or majority of the people get this message. They know your message, they receive your message. Not just one or two people, you do it one or two people and say, we've done Balaghul Mubin, we propagate it. No. Balaghul Mubin means that all the people in the area, they all get they get the message. So he said, when these messengers went, they done Balaghul Mubin. They got the message across the whole town. But it was their misfortune that they did not accept. But when they did not accept, then they go on to say that قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم. So this was a conversation between the messengers and the people of the community. So when the messengers told them that our job is only to propagate, then it's up to you whether you believe or not. They said that إنا تطيرنا بكم, we take you as a bad omen for us. We are misfortune for us. لئن لم تنتهي, if you do not desist, if you do not stop, if you don't halt what you are doing, لنرجمنكم, then certainly we will stone you. وَلَيْمَسَّنَّكُم مِّنَّا عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ, and you will be subjected to a very painful punishment. So when the messengers told them that we are just fulfilling our duty, which is to pass on the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's tawheed and to bring you towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and show you the right path, through which if you accept and you submit, you will get eternal bliss, eternal happiness. So when they said this, the people replied that no, you are a means of misfortune for us. And why did they say this? Mawlana Idris Kandili Rahmatullahi mentions in his Ma'arif al-Quran that it is a practice and the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that when He sends down a messenger and they have exhausted all their efforts and the qawm and the nation are adamant, arrogant and bent on not accepting the call, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends divine punishment and He destroys all inhabitants. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's practice is, before this divine punishment comes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them a quick tester. He gives them a small warning call. And sometimes it is by way of a drought. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends a drought. That through that drought they realize we've done a mistake. We need to turn back. We need to make a resolution to change. We need to mend our ties. We need to mend our ways. And we need to get better. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent a drought to them. When the drought came, rather than them thinking about this as being their own fault, what did they say? They said to the messengers, In qalu ta'iru inna tatayyarna bikum, that you are a means of misfortune. Until today our land was filled with stability, was fruitful, was giving crops, was so good. And the minute you put your feet into our land, into our community, into our town, rain has stopped. Our crops are dying and a drought has come. So you are a means of misfortune for us. So they started blaming the messengers. Or, why this continue on to mention that the second reason why they said that you are a means of misfortune was that when these messengers came, and when something new comes, whenever something new comes into a community, then there's always a bit of a chit chat, there's a bit of a discussion, everyone's listening, kya ho raha hai, kya nahi ho raha hai, everyone's interested. So there was this, in the whole area, there was this sort of atmosphere. The people are saying, should we listen to them? Some say, no, you shouldn't listen to them. Some say, at least listen to them, see what they're saying. Some say, no, don't even go near them. So now what happened? Friction started. Quarreling started. Some say, we told you, don't even go near them. Why are you listening to them? The others saying, nothing wrong, listen to them. They're giving a good message. They're not telling us to do wrong. They're telling us to mend ties. They're telling us to be generous. They're telling us to look after orphans, job or whatever the message was. So now there was an internal conflict. There was internal arguments. There was internal quarreling. So they were saying to messengers that before you came, there was nothing like this. We were living with tranquility and peace. Our whole community was one with unity. The minute you have come into our community, you have caused friction. You have caused misunderstanding and quarrels. So you are a means of misfortune for us. So Allama Razi Rahmatullah there mentions that look at the way the whole story opens up. That initially the messengers, they emphasized that they had been sent as messengers. And they said, Inna ilaykum mursalun. That definitely we have been sent as messengers to you. But they were so adamant and arrogant that they replied with emphasis that, In antum illa takdibun. You are nothing but liars. So they are saying that we are definitely messengers. And on this side, the nation is with emphasis saying that no, you are liars. So then the messengers, what did they do? They took an oath. Ya'lamu. Qalu Rabbuna ya'lamu. And I said, this is counted as an oath. So when they took an oath, so in return, these people said that you have brought misfortune to us. Allama Razi said, why did they say you have brought misfortune to us in reply of an oath? Because there's a saying, and some say it's a hadith, that al-yaminul kadhiba tada'u diyara balaqiya. Al-yaminul kadhiba, that a false oath, a oath which is false, not a true oath, when it is taken, tada'u diyara balaqiya, it leaves the person who takes the oath in poverty. So they are saying that, look, we told you, you said you are messengers. We said you are lying. You took an oath that you are Allah's messengers. But then what happened in return? Poverty came, drought came. So that means what are you doing? You are lying in your oath. Because when a person lies in his oath, then poverty comes. So that's why they brought this ayah that qalu ta'irukum, that you have become misfortune because you took a false oath on Allah, the wrath of that is that we have to all suffer. You took a false oath on Allah that you are prophets. And the wrath of that and Allah's anger is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has caused poverty and drought. And because of that, we are all suffering. And because we are all suffering, so now, لَإِلَّمْ تَنْتَهُ, if you do not stop, if you do not halt what you are doing, لَنَرْجُمَنَّكُمْ, we will stone you to death. وَلَيْمَسَّنَّكُمْ مِنَّا عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ, and we will give you a very tormented punishment, a very severe punishment, that we will not throw just 2 or 3 stones at you. In fact, before we stone you to death, we will give you very severe punishment. We will try to inflict punishments in different ways. And when all this punishment is finished, then we will get you and we will stone you till when? Till you die. So messengers then replied that قَالُوا طَائِرُكُمْ مَعَكُمْ أَإِنْ ذُكِّرْتُمْ بَلْ أَنْتُمْ قَوْمٌ مُسْرِفُونَ. They said, قَالُوا طَائِرُكُمْ, your misfortune, your bad omen is with yourselves. In ذُكِّرْتُمْ, if you are given good counsel, this is what you say, we are giving you good counsel, we are calling towards goodness, we are calling towards eternal happiness, and you are saying we are committing misfortune. If this is what you are saying, then بَلْ أَنْتُمْ قَوْمٌ مُسْرِفُونَ, rather you are people who have crossed the limits. The messenger is saying that we have called you in a very wise way. We have called you towards good. We are not telling you to do wrong things. We are not telling you to do misdeeds. We are not telling you to do evil. We are telling you to do good. We are telling you all the good things. And if this good thing in your eyesight is bad or misfortune, then definitely you have gone beyond the limits. There's something wrong with you people. And again, ulama say that look at the tariq of the Anbiya sallallahu, that when they spoke the nation, they said, قَالُوا إِنَّا تَطَيَّرْنَا بِكُمْ, that you are misfortune. You are both misfortune with you. But when the Anbiya replied, they said, قَالُوا طَائِرُكُمْ مَعَكُمْ, you are not misfortune, but misfortune is with you. And what misfortune with you? Misfortune of your misdeeds, your evil and your kufr. You do not realize that misfortune is not that we have come to your land. Misfortune is not that we have bought it with you, we have come and rain and stop. Misfortune is that you have rejected and accepted our call, which has resulted in Allah SWT stopping the rain, which has meant that your crops have died, or that we have come to you with a clear message and you don't want to accept the message, and that misfortune is that it has created quarrels amongst you, because the misfortune is because of your kufr. So anyway, then Allah they go to say that you have crossed all limits, meaning a person, you have crossed the limits of humanity and you have crossed the limits of intellect. How have you crossed the limits of humanity? That it is the response of a human, that when somebody goes to him and presents something beneficial to him, presents something where there is profit for him, presents something where there is eternal happiness for him, then humanity is a person, he should have such, he takes this person as his well-wisher and he listens to him, he accepts his call. But we've come to you with goodness, we've come to you with a message that if you accept, you will get eternal happiness. And what have you done? Rather than accepting the call, you have rejected and you have called us misfortune. So you have gone beyond the lines of humanity. And rather than helping and assisting us in this mission, you have said you want to kill us and you want to stone us to death. This has gone beyond the limits of humanity. And in terms of intellect, you have crossed the limits, because when something occurs, when misfortune occurs, then your intellect says to you that, wait a minute, has this nuqsan come? Has this harm come because of me? Have I done something? Have I mistreated somebody? Sometimes things happen in life and you think, wait a minute, I think this is the badua of fulana. I mistreated fulana. This is this. So a person intellectually, he uses his brain and he looks at his misdeeds. So this is you have passed the limits of intellect. That rather than looking at your own self, you have blamed the misfortune on us, and you don't even look that this misfortune has come because of your kufr. So anyway, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent this story in Surah Yasin, because this was this story, and the Surah Yasin was revealed in Makkah, and this was the period that they were going through. And Rasulullah on one side was telling him and calling him towards Iman, towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's oneness, towards Tawheed, and on the other side, the mushriks of Makkah were adamant, arrogant, that we are not going to move. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said this story, okay, look, in the previous nations, this occurred, this happened, and they were destroyed. If you follow the footpath, if you follow the path of death, then history will repeat again, and just like they were destroyed, you will also be destroyed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the correct understanding. Wa akhiru da'wana. sallallahu aleyhi ve sellem Muhammed ve aleyhi ve sellem.